I want to talk to you about something that I have coined the cosmic triangle, but I'm going to make it relatable to you by talking about two different celebrity couples that I know fit exactly those criteria. But let me explain first what a cosmic triangle is. To me, a cosmic triangle is when three souls, prior to coming back into this earth, have come up with a pact together, an understanding that soul A, B, and C will reincarnate together and be in each other's life. But here is usually what happens. One of the soul becomes a primary soul, becomes the soul that the two other souls decide that their life is going to be there to help grow. So let's say soul A is a primary soul. Soul A has a lot of growth to do. Soul B and C, that are part of the same soul family, agree to be there as secondary to soul A's life. And what I mean as secondary is sometimes the reason why we come back is not always with us as the primary, as the main character. Sometimes we become secondary character in somebody else's life. It means that our main goal was to help one specific soul grow. And so in the case of cosmic triangles, this is exactly what happens. So let's say that soul A comes in and meets soul B. Soul B is the soul that came first into soul A's life. They make a life together in whatever version that might be. And then something happened within the relationship. Maybe soul B exits earlier. Maybe they break up. Or maybe somehow life takes them in different paths. At that moment in time, there's almost like a beam of light, some really strong energy that is being created that alerts soul C, hey, it is now your turn. Now, soul C is likely not aware of this. Sometimes soul C has been around soul A and B their entire life, but just not as close as A and B were together. Sometimes soul C is completely on the other side of the world, and it has to find their way to soul A. Sometimes soul C is involved with somebody else, and it takes a while to extract themselves from that relationship. Truly, it depends. Every situation is very different. Sometimes this reunion might take a few days, sometimes it might take a few years, sometimes it might take decades. It really, truly depends. So, here's the two couples that I wanted to talk to you about that for me have been the exact example of a cosmic triangle. First one is Abby Wangmak, and I'm probably mispronouncing her name and I apologize for that. You might know her. She was a Olympian soccer player, really, really talented. And then her wife, right now, Glennon Doyle. And Glennon is soul A. Abby is soul C. Now, Glennon was married to a man who cheated on her, and that man is soul B. Now, the affair and everything is public knowledge. I'm not saying anything that's new. It's not a gossip or anything like that. It's just the fact. Now, after soul A and soul B, Glennon and her ex-husband divorced. Glennon was in an event where soul C, Abby, walked in, and as soon as she saw Abby, she even recounts saying this, oh my God, here she is. She didn't know why. She didn't understand why she felt this incredible pull. It was because it was almost things falling into place. And now, Abby and Glennon have been married for quite a while, and that was always the goal. Abby, soul C, was waiting to see if soul A and B were going to make it. And so that's one specific example of a celebrity couple that a lot of people do know. Now, here's the second one that I've been watching lately. It's Bruce and Emma Willis, and of course, indirectly, Demi Moore. Bruce is soul A. Demi Moore was soul B. Emma is soul C. Bruce and Demi met, had a life together, had children, made a family, divorced. That we're all aware of. A few years after, or I don't know all the details, soul C, Emma, stepped forward and met soul A. It took however long it took for them to get together. I'm not aware of all the details. But what I can tell you is the understanding between the three was specifically that. Soul C, which is Emma, had agreed ahead of time to step forward and be there for Bruce, be there for Soul A. And we know now that Bruce Willis is affected from severe dementia, and Emma has been for a long time by his side. And now what we see also is Soul B coming back and folding back into that life and stepping back to also be there for Soul A, which is kind of beautiful to watch. I mean, I don't know all the details. I don't care to know all the details. That is their life. But from an outside perspective, what I have witnessed is that. And so the cosmic triangle idea is very beautiful. And I'd be curious to know if some of you have experienced that. Now, it doesn't mean that it's always the case. Sometimes somebody becomes a widow and is not specifically a soul that had agreed ahead of time to step back in. It doesn't mean that that person cannot find love again. It just means that the soul that comes in was not from some sort of understanding prior to this. And also let me explain that very clearly. A soul contract and understanding does not mean that we have to stick to it. There's also free will that comes into play. If A, B, and C had this understanding, and A and B broke up, and Soul C comes in, and Soul C ends up being not a really kind person, and C and A's relationship does not work, it doesn't mean that that relationship should continue. Because free will, right? Because sometimes we cannot predict who we are going to be once we enter the bodies that we are in. And we cannot predict other people's behavior either. So that is the ideal situation when actually it works out, but it doesn't mean that it will always. Anyhow, all right, I just want to share that. Please let me know any comments. Please make sure you follow and you subscribe. Thank you for being here. Not always psychic medium. I bring you more grounded approach to the psychic world. So behind me, actually, is the Palace of Versailles. So today I'm going to take you on a tour, but not a tour, a general tour of the palace, a spiritual tour of all the spiritual activity I have been seeing this time around. Now, where I'm going to take you is actually a little special because it is through the king's apartments and the little apartments of the queen, along with the opera. All places that are not accessible to the general public usually. Now, you have to note that I grew up in Versailles. This is my hometown. This is the place where I used to come to. I used to roam around the gardens with my friends, ride a bike. Before it was closed to the public, before you had to go through security to get in. It was the most welcoming, the most beautiful place I have ever been to. My favorite being the Queen's Gardens, which would not be in this video today. But either way, I'm looking forward to taking you through this. If any questions, of course, please let me know. But this is just what I have experienced, and I just want to share that with you. All right. I'm looking forward to taking you on this journey. Please follow me. It's interesting to note that the Palace of Versailles didn't start out that big. It used to be just a simple hunting lodge. But Louis XIV is the one that decided to take that little hunting lodge that his father used to own and make it into this gigantic palace. But when you look at the excess and the opulence, you understand why the French people had a revolution. So this is a place where I always start by seeing the exact same spirit, and he was here again this time around. He started following me. I'll explain that later on in the video. But I always see him standing in between both chairs right in front of that portrait. Then he just went ahead and moved. Now he's in between those two chairs over there. The spirit that keeps following me. And